Honda was an ugly, dirty, and hopeless loser who believed that everyone around him hated him because he got cheated by his girlfriend. But in reality, all the lazy boys in his class actually liked him. Let's find out the reason behind. One day, when he opened his locker, a letter fell out. He thought it was just another stupid prank like in middle school, so he crumpled it up and threw it in the trash. As soon as he turned around, a strange-looking girl named Jory with a very big head appeared in front of him and started yelling. She asked why he threw away the love letter that her friend had stayed up all night writing. But Honda didn't listen at all. Instead, he thought they were trying to pick a fight. Since he didn't know what else to do, he got angry and asked what those idiots wanted from him. Then Mo simply told him to meet behind the gym after school. After that, Honda spent the whole day imagining all the ways he might get beaten up. To calm himself, he started drawing in class. But the teacher saw him and called him to the front to solve a difficult math problem, thinking Honda was good at it. Without even thinking, Honda wrote the answer with his paintbrush and went back to his seat. Meanwhile, he kept wondering what he should say later to Mo and that weird girl, Jory. Jory noticed him staring at her and immediately misunderstood the situation. But she also didn't want to ruin her friendship with Mo. Then, without saying anything, Honda placed a letter on Jory's desk. This made her mind go completely wild. She got nervous and started thinking that Honda was in love with her. Later during lunch, Mo came to sit with Jory and kept talking about how she was the most beautiful girl in school. After hearing this, Jory decided she would steal Honda from Mo. As school ended, Honda's brain was about to explode. He kept thinking about how to face Mo and even wondered if he could just run away. But when he got outside, people were already gathered behind the gym. So Honda picked up his bag, acted normal, and walked over to the two girls who were secretly obsessed with him. He asked what the meeting was about. Jory told him to stop pretending. Then Mo stepped forward to give him another love letter, but Jory quickly snatched it and dropped it on the ground. She said it was a mistake, but then kept doing the same thing again and again. Suddenly, she grabbed Mo and started choking her. Honda just stood there, completely shocked, while Jory kept shouting that he should stay away from Mo. She said Mo only looked innocent, but actually had a dark heart, and that she didn't deserve him. Honda had absolutely no idea what she was talking about. Then Jory pinned Mo to the ground and started acting in a very weird and inappropriate way just to show how bad things could get if Honda and Mo got close. In the end, she told Honda to forget both of them and move on with his life. Honda was tired of all this nonsense, so he simply turned around and walked away like nothing happened. While leaving, he told them to value their friendship more than anything. When Mo tried to force him to read the letter, Honda brushed her off and told her to send it to Santa instead. After that, Mo kept crying until evening. Jory didn't like seeing her friend like that, so she said they would work together to write a love letter that Honda wouldn't be able to ignore. The next day, the teacher announced voting for the new class representative. Isawa was confident he would win again, since he had held the position for the past 10 years. But this time, because Honda had suddenly become popular, he was also nominated. Now Isawa started worrying that this heartbreaker Honda might steal his title. Meanwhile, Honda thought the class was just trying to make his life harder. Still, he quietly went along with it, hoping Isawa would win. When the votes were counted, both Honda and Isawa had the same number of votes. So the teacher decided to settle it with a simple game of rock, paper, scissors. Isawa got angry, thinking such an important decision shouldn't be made with a child's game. But when the whole class said they didn't care, he agreed because he wanted to win no matter what. Honda then casually said he would choose rock every time. Everyone was shocked. Isawa started overthinking. Was Honda telling the truth or trying to trick him? In the end, Isawa ignored it and lost the first round. He immediately started begging the teacher for another chance like a sad little kid. In the second round, he finally won. Now it was 1 point each. In the final round, Isawa could have easily won by choosing paper, but he started overthinking again and trusted his brain too much. Meanwhile, Honda just played normally and won without any effort. Honda thought Isawa had tricked him into taking responsibility, so he refused to become class rep, saying he had more important things to do. But Isawa stopped him and said he couldn't just walk away like that. Honda told him to do something meaningful with his life and then walked out of the classroom. Everyone thought Honda was being rude, but surprisingly, Isawa supported him and said Honda's attitude had taught him the true meaning of leadership. Because of that, Isawa decided to give the position to Honda. When Honda came back and saw his name written on the board, he got angry again. He thought the class hated him and was forcing this job on him. But Isawa explained that he had resigned for Honda and told him not to worry. He would handle all the work anyway. At that moment, outside the classroom, all the girls were going crazy over a new student named Rio. Rio was a handsome teen model with long hair, glowing skin, and a charming smile. He was known as the hottest boy in school. But ever since Honda became popular, Rio had to share his fan base with this strange, lonely guy who had no sense of fashion. So Rio asked the girls who was more attractive, him or Honda. The girls said Rio had the better face, but Honda was more attractive because he seemed mysterious and gentle. This made Rio furious. He decided to follow Honda all day to find out what made him so special. But all he discovered was that Honda had a weird obsession with street cats. He followed Honda to a local market where modeling agents were secretly looking for new talent. Rio panicked and thought Honda might steal his job too. So he ran ahead to stop the agents from noticing Honda. But instead, a fashion scout slapped Rio aside walked straight to Honda, gave him a jacket, and said that if he signed a contract, he could become the most popular man in the world. Honda found this very strange. So he took the jacket and wrapped it around Rio, saying that even poor, homeless street boys deserve to wear good clothes. Honda walked away, but something inside Rio changed that day. Because of that, Rio decided to quit modeling and follow the path of the man who had unknowingly taught him what a selfless life looks like. The next morning, Isawa gave Honda a package and asked him to deliver it to a student named Ain, who hadn't come to school for a whole year. Honda wondered how such a good-looking guy could just disappear from school like that. When he reached the apartment, he knocked on the door, but no one answered. He was about to leave the package and go when suddenly a huge man appeared and asked in a rough voice what he was doing there. Honda quickly said he didn't want any trouble and was just there to deliver a package for Ain. But then the giant man said he was Ain. Honda was completely shocked. The cute boy from the photo had somehow turned into this massive human wall. Ain then explained his story. Back in school, everyone bullied him because of his girly face. Boys didn't want to sit with him, and girls hated him because he looked prettier than them. So, in the end, he quit school and locked himself in his room. One day, he saw a bodybuilding ad on TV and decided to start working out every day until he became strong and huge. And he didn't stop. After some time, he became so powerful that he could beat up all the gang leaders in his area. Now, Ain was basically unbeatable and everyone around him was scared of him. So he said he didn't need school anymore, and not even the police could force him to go back. Honda didn't react at all, he simply handed over the package. But Ain misunderstood and thought Honda was challenging him to a fight. So he started watching Honda carefully, waiting for him to attack. Just as Ain was about to make a move, a group of street thugs suddenly attacked both of them. Honda calmly handed over the package and just walked away like this was none of his business. But for some reason, Ain believed Honda was still fighting alongside him. So he started beating up the thugs by himself while imagining Honda helping him in the background, like some invisible teammate. One thug tried to stop Honda, but the moment he saw Honda's cold, vampire-like eyes, he backed off immediately. Then the thugs realized this was the same Honda they had heard scary stories about. They decided it wasn't worth it and ran away. When An finally opened the package, he understood the message. Honda had come all this way just to show him that he should return to school. So the next morning, the now extra-large Ain finally came back. Meanwhile, Isawa was still confused about how Ain became that big. And Ain secretly promised himself that he would always protect Honda. Later that day, everyone gathered for a practical cooking class. Kondo, the most average boy in school, got nervous when he realized he was in a group with Honda and all the other weird guys. Isawa and the others said they would do all the work themselves so Honda could just sit there like a king. But Kondo noticed that Honda actually looked a bit worried, and he started wondering if Honda even wanted that. They began making a fancy dish, but then Kondo saw Honda quietly mixing together the worst possible ingredients to make pudding cups. At the same time, Ain, full of anger, suddenly started attacking the other boys. And before anyone could understand what was happening, Honda accidentally set the kitchen on fire while trying to make fries. The head chef immediately told everyone to get out before someone got hurt. Isawa and the others were worried about Honda, but Kondo quickly grabbed a fire extinguisher and put out the fire. The boys then somehow convinced themselves that Honda had started the fire on purpose, just to stop everyone from fighting. After that, they opened the fridge and found the pudding cups Honda had made. Kondo tried to stop them from eating it, but even though it tasted absolutely terrible, Isawa and the others kept eating it anyway, because to them, anything made by Honda was perfect. Later that day, the girl sitting next to Honda didn't notice that her eraser had rolled under his desk. Honda got so nervous about returning it that instead, he just gave her a brand new eraser. That tiny act of kindness was enough. The girl, Muko, instantly became obsessed with Honda. After school, Honda went shopping with his friend Kouji. While picking up paper for his artwork, some girls entered the shop. Honda panicked and immediately hid between the shelves, afraid someone might see him with Kouji. After the girls left, Honda told Kouji that if people found out he was friends with the most disliked boy in school, it would ruin Kouji's reputation. Kouji had no idea what kind of imaginary world Honda was living in. Honda kept hiding from girls everywhere, until they reached a cafe and ordered drinks. There, Kouji told him to stop acting like a fugitive. Honda was surprised that Kouji didn't care about what others thought of their friendship. But Honda didn't realize that one big reason he was so scared of girls was actually Kouji himself. Back in middle school, Kouji had his heart broken when the girl he liked asked him to deliver a love letter to Honda. To get revenge, Kouji told Honda that the girl had been spreading embarrassing rumors about him. He was about to admit it was just a joke, but Honda took it seriously and decided that all girls were bad. The next day at school, Honda overheard some girls talking about how they bought a cute poem from him at the park, but Honda didn't have the courage to tell them it wasn't actually him. The girls even put the poem up on the board. Honda felt embarrassed just looking at how bad it was. His fanboys also noticed that the writing style seemed off, so they decided to investigate. They went to the park and found a boy who looked like Honda selling poems and pretending to be him. Ain immediately got angry and punched him. Rio slapped him a few times too, and Isawa even got ready to cut his hair with scissors. That's when the boy finally told the truth. He was just a crazy fan of Honda. His name was Kei, and he was obsessed with copying everything about Honda. His walking style, his way of talking, even his art. Right at that moment, two girls came up to Kei thinking he was the real Honda, and made a very rude and inappropriate offer to him. Within seconds, even more girls showed up. Kay couldn't handle the pressure anymore, so he dropped his Honda act and revealed his real face, with his big front teeth and all. The girls immediately lost interest and left when they realized he was a fake. The boys actually felt a bit bad for him. His fanboy dream had crashed very quickly, so they took Kay back to school to apologize. But the moment he entered the classroom, he saw a note from Honda written on the board. It told him to stop copying others and focus on his own useless life. Kay burst into tears. Then he said he had a new plan. After fixing his teeth, he would look even more like Honda. Meanwhile, outside the classroom, two senior girls were about to jump on Honda when they saw him receiving a gift from a very beautiful woman. They immediately assumed she was his girlfriend. They took a photo and posted it online. Very soon, all the girls in school started hating Honda, thinking he had given up his playboy life and moved on to an older woman. When Honda came back to class, he noticed strange writing on his desk. Later, Isawa and the others checked it and realized it was a very serious emotional message from one of his fangirls. At that moment, a boy rushed in and said that Miyoko was about to jump from the top floor. Everyone ran outside to stop her. Standing at the edge, Miyoko started singing dramatically. She said that ever since Honda gave her a new eraser, her entire life had changed. Her grades had dropped because she couldn't stop thinking about his face. Then she said that now Honda had abandoned her for another woman, so she didn't want to live anymore and was ready to sacrifice herself. Just as she was about to step forward, she noticed Honda standing behind her. Honda had no idea what was going on. Meanwhile, Miyoko was just waiting for him to say sorry. Instead, Honda started talking to his desk like it was a person, saying it shouldn't feel bad and that nothing could replace it. Miyoko misunderstood completely and thought he was talking to her. She started crying and decided to live. Her friends rushed in and hugged her. Later, while Miyoko was still emotional near the fountain, the beautiful woman approached her and asked where the PTA meeting was. That's when Miyoko realized the truth. The woman wasn't Honda's girlfriend. She was his mother. Miyoko immediately ran off to tell all the other fangirls. Meanwhile, Honda was stuck in a meeting with his teacher and his mom. Both of them told him he should try to socialize more with his classmates. But no matter how hard he tried, his classmates thought he was too perfect and kept acting weird around him. In the end, Honda decided he could at least try to be friends with Kondo. He awkwardly started a conversation, but Kondo responded kindly. Honda went home feeling like he had just won a Nobel Prize. After the break, school started again. The vice principal was scolding two girls for wandering around the school grounds, but the girls turned it around and accused him of being suspicious. At that moment, the student council president Sako appeared and threatened to expose one of his embarrassing secrets. The vice principal immediately backed off and left quietly. The girls saw Sako as a hero and even gave her gifts. Sako felt proud of herself as a role model, but then she saw Honda walking by with his group and instantly got annoyed. Sako hated boys in general and couldn't stand how easily Honda was getting attention from her followers, so she made a plan to take him down. At the next student council meeting, Sako called in two senior girls known as the most dangerous in school. She ordered them to trap Honda until he started begging. They accepted the mission, but when they tried to attack Honda, he suddenly stopped them and calmly told them they should take care of their health instead of chasing after him. In reality, he was talking to some stray cats nearby. But somehow his words hit the girls so hard that they gave up and went back, saying they couldn't complete the mission. This made Sako even angrier, so she ordered her council to bring Honda directly to her. When Honda arrived, Sako declared his punishment. Since he had stolen her followers, he would have to wear a girl's uniform for an entire year. Honda didn't understand anything and just stood there, wondering how his life became like this. The vice president told him to just wear the skirt quietly. Honda imagined the whole school laughing at him and immediately ran away. Sako and her team chased him through the hallway. They surrounded him from all sides. The vice president grabbed him and threw him down. Honda slipped on the stairs and fell right on top of Sako, like something out of a romance scene. When Sako woke up, she was disgusted to find herself lying on Honda, but her friends told her that Honda had actually saved her from getting seriously hurt. That's when Sako had a shocking realization. She might be starting to like this loser. Embarrassed, she slapped the vice president for his behavior and left with her group. At that moment, Isawa arrived to help Honda and noticed something was wrong. Honda had lost part of his memory. Ryo and Ain also saw Honda acting strangely and were confused. Isawa explained that Honda's memory was partially gone and would return in about a week. Honda calmly said there was no need to worry. In this state, he couldn't do much anyway. The only thing he remembered was that he was the most popular boy in school. Ain almost started crying, thinking his innocent role model had turned into a self-obsessed guy, so Isawa decided they needed to bring Honda's memory back faster. Meanwhile, Honda started testing his charm in the hallway by flirting with different girls. But whenever he agreed to get closer, the girls lost interest, because the real Honda would have rejected them instantly. Even Miyoko came and asked for a kiss. Honda got scared the moment he saw her and ran away. Isawa read some books and came up with a solution. The best way to restore memory was to hit the person hard on the head. After escaping from Miyoko, Honda started thinking that being popular wasn't actually a good thing. His life now felt worse than before, maybe even worse than when no one cared about him. Just then, Ain appeared from behind with a hammer saying this was the only way to fix everything. Honda ran. Then Isawa and Ryo also joined the chase, all holding hammers. Soon, Honda was surrounded. Voices echoed in his head, telling him that everyone hated him. Just as they were about to hit him, Honda slipped on the stairs again and fell. When he got up, his memory had returned. But since he believed the whole school was trying to beat him up, he looked at Isawa and the others with a strange smile and quietly walked away. Now Honda was convinced his school life had turned into a battlefield. So Kouji suggested they go out and have some fun later. But Honda decided to disguise himself as an ugly woman so his enemies wouldn't recognize him. Kouji's friend Hagawa joined them too. And to stay hidden, Honda introduced himself with a fake name, Hanzawa. All day, Honda kept telling Kouji that he was scared to hang out with someone so different from him. But Kouji told him to relax and stop overthinking. He just wanted Honda to make new friends and not be lonely anymore. Hagawa had one goal. He wanted to win a special prize that you only get if you score perfectly in bowling, darts, and basketball. All three. Honda got nervous because he had never played any of these games before. He first tried bowling and completely embarrassed himself in front of everyone. Then Kouji stepped in and showed how it's done. 3 strikes in a row like a professional athlete. Next was darts. This time, Honda wanted to prove himself. Kouji didn't do so well here, but Honda suddenly focused. Even while wearing his dark shades, he hit 3 bullseyes in a row and shocked everyone. The final game was basketball. Since Hagawa was good at it, he took the shot himself and nailed a 3-pointer in one try. Just like that, he won the grand prize. Kouji went off to get drinks. While he was gone, Hagawa tried to get closer to Honda and offered to lend him some comic books. Honda was actually happy to have a friend like that. But then, some senior basketball bullies showed up, pushed Hagawa to the ground, and took his prize. Honda just stood there watching, while Hagawa quietly tolerated everything. Kouji was nowhere around, so Honda quickly changed back into his normal look and scared the seniors so badly that they returned the prize without saying a word and ran off. Hagawa was shocked. Honda had actually stood up for him. When Kouji came back with the drinks, Hagawa excitedly told him the whole story like it was a superhero movie. In all that excitement, Hagawa completely forgot about Hanzawa, so he asked Kouji to give some comic books to Hanzawa, not knowing that Hanzawa and Honda were the same person. Meanwhile, on the sports field, athletes were training for a big race, but no one was faster than the school's top runner, Kaido Higashino, also known as Dash. People admired him because he had rejected a sports scholarship from the country's best school. But what no one knew was that Dash stayed behind for one reason: revenge on Honda. Back in middle school, Honda had beaten him in a race. Dash couldn't accept that loss and convinced himself that Honda must have cheated. Since then, he had been waiting for a rematch, so Dash challenged Honda again. But at the last moment, he got nervous and started crying. Then Kei stepped in and said he would run instead, wearing a mask and pretending to be Honda. But the moment Kei put on the mask, Dash went full speed and finished the race in a record 10 seconds. He thanked Kei, but said he still needed to race the real Honda. They even tried to force Honda to run by creating a fire in the hallway to scare him. But Honda just calmly covered his nose and walked out through the smoke like nothing happened. In the end, Dash's coach scolded him for wasting time chasing a pointless race. She told him that his career as a professional athlete mattered more and that his team would always support him. Dash finally agreed to focus on leading his team to nationals. But then, he saw Honda casually running home like some comic book speedster. And just like that, all his determination disappeared. He chased after Honda at full speed. This time, Dash actually managed to outrun him. But suddenly, Honda changed direction. That's when Dash realized Honda wasn't racing him. He was running away from something. At that exact moment, a stray dog jumped onto Dash and he fell hard. The next day at school, Miyoko asked her friend Sugumi to read her poem. Sugumi got everything exactly right, so she decided to test her ability on the whole class. But she wanted a real challenge. So she went to Isawa and the others and asked them to arrange a palm reading session with Honda. The boys said Honda wasn't into that kind of stuff, but Honda overheard them. To help out, he sat at his desk pretending to sleep so Sugumi could easily read him. But when Sugumi looked at him, she was shaken. She didn't see confidence or popularity in him at all. Instead, she felt like Honda was living a very sad and lonely life. But she didn't say that out loud. Instead, she told the boys that Honda would face life alone but overcome many challenges. Then, jokingly, she added that Honda would have many children and live a life like an American rapper. The boys were thrilled. To them, that sounded like a superstar future. After midterms ended, their class teacher, Mr. Ama, announced that results were out. He warned that anyone with bad marks would need to work harder because a makeup exam was coming next week. Then he started handing out report cards. Most students were happy, but Ryo and Hinata were completely devastated. They had failed. After school, everyone decided to help them study. Isawa even named their study group Honda Force Headquarters. Everyone loved the idea, except Kondo, who pointed out that naming a group after Honda without asking him was a bit weird. No one listened to him. Ain showed his report card. He had ranked first in the midterms and promised to help Ryo and Hinata pass. Then everyone started wondering about Honda's marks. They were sure he must have ranked first too. But Isawa suggested that maybe Honda purposely made mistakes to avoid attention. So the group decided they would do their best to make Honda happy. On the day of the makeup exam, all the students had to gather in class. Dash and Kei were there too. Dash had failed because he spent more time running than studying. Kei failed because Instead of writing his own name, he wrote Honda's name on the answer sheet. Kei wanted to sit in Honda's seat to feel like the real Honda. Dash wanted that seat too. So the two of them started fighting over it. Hinata and Rio stepped in and stopped them, saying that seat belonged only to the real Honda. And right in the middle of the argument, Honda himself walked into the classroom. Everyone was shocked. Mr. Ama told everyone to sit down and get ready. Everyone was confused about why Honda was taking the makeup exam. After all, they thought he was the smartest student. But the truth was much simpler. Honda had forgotten to write his name on his paper, so Mr. Ama had no choice but to make him take the test again. When the exam started, Honda began making scratching sounds with his pencil, almost like he was drawing instead of writing. The other students noticed this and immediately started copying him. Things got out of control. Everyone began writing as fast as possible, not even caring if their answers were correct. They just wanted to make the same cool scratching sound as Honda. When time was up, everyone submitted their papers and left. Later, Aizawa asked Ain and Rio how the test went. They said it went great. Just having Honda there made them feel supported. The next day, the results came out. Ani and Rio had scored well. They thanked Aizawa, but he said the real credit belonged to Honda. Kondo asked why. Aizawa explained that Honda must have done badly on purpose the first time, just so he could sit with the struggling students and support them. At the same time, in the school library, there was a quiet girl named Kasumi, who also liked Honda. Hardly anyone visited the library, but Kasumi didn't care. She only paid attention to Honda. Because of the low number of visitors, the library's budget had been cut, so Kasumi used her own money to buy romance novels, and then cleverly changed their covers to look like art books, hoping Honda would borrow them. And it worked. Han picked one up, thinking it would help his drawing skills. After he left, Aizawa and the others came to the library looking for him. They started browsing books, but Ain accidentally dropped some of the novels Kasumi had bought. Kasumi panicked and shouted at him. Seeing how protective she was, Rio quickly figured out that Kasumi had set all this up just for Honda. Then Kasumi started talking about her dream world, saying Honda was her prince, and she would improve the library so he would come back again. The boys decided to help her. They filled the library with books from different genres to make it more attractive. Soon, students heard about this new and improved library and rushed in. The place became crowded and popular. Kasumi got more visitors than ever before. But now there was a new problem. Honda couldn't even enter because it was too crowded. Later, when Honda came to return the book, he told Kasumi that the content didn't match the cover. Kasumi nervously asked if he still liked it. Honda surprised her by saying he admired her hard work and dedication to the library. Kasumi felt incredibly happy inside. She thought Honda had finally noticed her efforts. But at the same time, she felt embarrassed about changing the book covers, so she said she would order new books for everyone in the school, except Honda. Honda misunderstood this completely and thought he was banned from the library forever. When he told Kawuji called him an idiot for not realizing that Kasumi was clearly in love with him, and then casually added that she wasn't even that pretty anyway. Later that day, Sugumi tried to convince Honda to go on the school field trip. She said it would be a great chance to meet people and make friends. Honda agreed. Meanwhile, students from another school were also planning their trip. Their most popular boy, Ichimiya, suggested they go on a field trip too. While all this was happening, Honda accidentally dropped a candy, and it landed on a guy named Jimoto's hair. Naturally, Jimoto got angry and was about to hit Honda, but Ichimiya stepped in and stopped him. He then politely apologized to everyone, and his calm, charming behavior made all the girls blush. When someone asked who he was, Aizawa explained that Ichimiya was the most popular student at Shiro High, basically the king of his school, just like Honda. When they reached the trip location, the teachers told everyone to explore and return before curfew. While walking around, Honda and his group met a fortune teller. They paid a small fee to learn about their futures, and everyone was especially curious about Honda's result. But suddenly, the Shiro High students interrupted rudely. They wanted to make Honda look inferior in front of Ichimiya, and it worked. Ichimiya's fortune said he would receive all the blessings in the world. What no one realized was that his classmates had planned this in advance. That night, everyone went to their rooms. Honda and his friends were sleeping when suddenly, something flew in through the window. When they turned on the light, they saw a creepy doll on the floor. Tsutsui was convinced that Ichimiya's group was behind it and suggested getting revenge. But the strange part? Honda was sleeping peacefully through all of this. So everyone decided to just go back to sleep, thinking Honda would probably tell them to stay calm anyway. The next morning, the trip continued. Honda noticed a group of girls walking around with Ichimiya, and for some reason, he started following them. The girls kept asking Ichimiya for photos, and he happily agreed. Then, it was Honda's turn. Ichimiya handed him a costume, saying it would make the photo more fun. But during the photo, Ichimiya secretly stuck a candy into Honda's hair, getting revenge for the train incident. Later, when Honda tried to take off the costume, he realized the candy had glued his hair to it. He was stuck. Thankfully, Kondo showed up and helped him out. That night, Honda took Kondo to a gift shop so he could buy something for his crush. While there, Kondo noticed Ichimiya's group nearby and started warning Honda. But Honda had already disappeared. Inside the shop, Honda found a stylish pen he liked and tried to pick it up, but it fell under a table, and when he reached for it, his hand got stuck, like something straight out of a comedy scene. He tried pulling it out, but nothing worked. Then, Ichimiya and his group saw him and helped him free his hand. Honda was about to thank them, but Kondo quickly pushed him away before they could recognize him. Ichimiya's group was confused and asked Kondo if he had seen Honda. Kondo pointed randomly at some guy far away and sent them in the wrong direction. He then ran back to Honda and apologized for pushing him. Just then, Kamichi approached them. So Kondo quickly covered Honda's face with a trash bag to hide his identity. Kamichi warned Kondo not to interfere with Ichimiya's plans. Kondo tried to explain that Honda wasn't a bad person and the train incident was just an accident, but Kamichi laughed and said he was actually excited to see who would win, Ichimiya or their useless Honda. The next day, Ichimiya met Honda and asked him a deep question. Did he ever get tired of living up to people's expectations? Honda replied honestly. He didn't even understand what that meant. Still, Ichimiya reached out his hand and asked if they could be friends. Honda said it would feel strange to be friends with someone that popular. Besides, he already had good friends in his own class. Hearing this, something clicked in Ichimiya's mind. He realized that there were people around him who genuinely cared about him, but he had always treated them like followers instead of friends. So he apologized for his behavior. But Kamichi didn't like seeing Ichimiya back down, so he rushed forward to attack Honda and got slapped hard by Kondo. Ichimiya quickly stepped in, apologized for his friend, and announced that there would be no more rivalry between the two schools. Meanwhile, Honda was quietly floating face down in a lake nearby like he had completely passed out. Back at school, the administration refused to allow frog dissection in biology class because too many parents had complained. Mr. Ama was clearly not happy about this, so he stopped Honda and Isawa in the hallway and told them to collect student signatures to bring the dissection back. He believed that with Honda's popularity, everyone would agree. Honda didn't like the idea either, but he also didn't have the courage to refuse the teacher. In class, Isawa stood up and explained why frog dissection was important, but the class was divided. Many students were still against it. Then everyone turned to Honda and asked for his opinion. Not wanting to disappoint Mr. Ama, Honda said he would personally take part in the dissection. That was enough. Everyone immediately signed the petition and the dissection program was brought back. On the day of the practical, Mr. Ama was so happy that he hugged Honda. During that moment, Honda accidentally dropped his frog, and that's when everything went wrong. Suddenly, all the frogs started jumping out of their jars. Chaos. Students ran everywhere trying to escape the hopping invasion. In the middle of all this, the teacher noticed Ain was bleeding. But then, something even stranger happened. Honda started talking like he was possessed by a frog. He began saying that dissection was cruel and unfair to innocent frogs. For some reason, everyone listened, even Mr. Ama. In the end, the students released all the frogs back into the river. Instead of dissection, they went outside, collected plants, and made a herbarium. That's when Mr. Ama realized his mistake. He wanted to teach kindness through dissection, but the students had learned kindness on their own, without harming anything. Honda later woke up in the school clinic. After school, he started walking home. Unnoticed, Isawa began following him to make sure he got home safely. A few minutes later, Honda suddenly ran. Isawa immediately thought someone was stalking him. Ironically, the only person actually following Honda was Isawa himself. At Honda Force headquarters, Isawa shared his suspicion with the group. Everyone got serious and made a plan to catch the mysterious stalker. The next day after school, they split into groups and hid along the roads Honda usually took home. The plan was to surround the stalker from all sides. By chance, Honda walked along the route where Isawa and Kondo were hiding. They started following him, but Kondo pointed out that sneaking around like this made them look like stalkers. Isawa insisted that Honda Force worked from the shadows. While they were arguing, a noise came from the bushes. Both assumed it was the stalker. They were about to attack, but it was Miyoko. Kondo immediately accused her. She did look suspicious, but Isawa explained that she was also there to protect Honda. In fact, Miyoko had given herself a new name, Eraser, because she removed girls who were too obsessed with Honda. At that same moment, Kasumi was on her way to Honda's house to give him new romance novels, but Miyoko stopped her using a rope like a cowboy. Meanwhile, Isawa and the others kept chasing Honda, but Honda ran so fast that they lost him. So Isawa signaled Dash with a whistle and told him to chase Honda. Even Dash couldn't catch him. He came back and reported failure. At the same time, Ryo and Ain showed up looking completely wrecked. They explained that the stalker had tricked them, locked them in a dog cage, and unleashed an angry dog on them. Muko also arrived and the group started planning again. Just then, Honda tried to jump over a fence and saw all of them standing there. He thought they had stopped following him, but this time, Honda didn't run. He stood there and shouted at them. He said they should stop following him, that they were all acting like obsessed creeps, and that he was already late to meet his only friend. Kondo was shocked. He finally realized the truth. The real stalkers were actually them. But Isawa was still lost in his own logic and insisted they should keep searching for the real stalker. Later, Kei noticed people whispering about him and started feeling insecure. He went to Ryo for advice on confidence. Ryo suggested he should just go have fun with some girls, but Kei wasn't interested and went back to reading his favorite book. At the same time, Kondo found a letter on his desk with a heart sticker. He immediately assumed it was a love letter. When he opened it, he saw it was from a girl named Mikey, asking him to meet behind the gym after school. Now Kondo was confused. Was this really a love letter or some kind of trap? When he asked Ain, Ain confidently said it was obviously a challenge and that Kondo should prepare himself like a man. possibly for a life or death fight. But then Isawa carefully read the letter and confirmed that it was a real love letter. He explained that Mikey wasn't the type to joke around. She was just an average-looking girl, probably around 5 feet 10. Rio immediately told Kondo to celebrate because this was the biggest day of his life. He even styled Kondo's hair for him. Ain suggested bringing flowers to make things more romantic. Everyone was staring at Kondo so much that he started thinking he was finally becoming popular thanks to Honda Force. Feeling proud, he happily walked behind the gym to meet what he thought would be his future girlfriend. But the moment he got there, Mikey crushed his dreams. She bluntly told him that he was just an average student and should stop pretending to be part of Honda Force because no girl would ever like him. That hit Kondo like a direct shot to the heart. For a moment, it felt like his soul left his body. His friends quickly gathered around him and tried to cheer him up. But strangely, Kondo stayed calm, and he said he had already expected this because an average guy like him never had a chance with a pretty girl like Mikey. He looked fine on the outside, but then suddenly lost it and ran away. Realizing he was not okay, his friends chased after him. While thinking about leaving Honda Force forever, Kondo accidentally bumped into Honda. Honda thought he was the same person who had pushed him during the field trip. Kondo noticed the flowers in Honda's hand and asked what they were for. Honda awkwardly replied that he was going to use them to annoy people. Kondo immediately realized Honda was just trying to act cool. Feeling bad about what happened on the trip, he gave Honda a gift card as an apology. When Kondo returned to his friends, they were relieved to see him acting normal again. What they didn't know was that Honda's weird and awkward personality actually made Kondo feel better about himself. Meanwhile, when Honda opened the card, the ink had smudged. The message now looked like it said something rude. Basically jackass. Honda assumed Kondo had insulted him on purpose. And just like that, his dislike for Kondo grew even more. Elsewhere in school, there was an art club made up of boys who spent all their time drawing cute girl manga. The problem? None of their books ever sold. One day, Isawa walked into their club room and announced bad news. Since their club was considered the most useless in school, the student council was cutting all their funding. The members demanded to know why. Isawa explained that their manga wasn't making any money for the school. He pointed at piles of old unsold books and told them the truth. They needed to create something people would actually buy. Then he gave them an idea. Make a manga about Honda. Since Honda was the most popular person in school, it was guaranteed to sell. The club got so excited that they kicked Isawa out and immediately started brainstorming. But then they remembered their club's strict rule. They could only draw cute girls. One of the heavier club members suggested turning Honda into a cute girl. Honestly, everyone agreed. The only problem was that Honda was hard to study because he was usually alone. So the club president, Neo, came up with a plan. Each member would interview Honda separately, create their own manga version of him, and then they'd choose the best one. Neo approached Honda in the hallway. To study his reactions, he pulled out a doll in a swimsuit and tried to provoke him. Honda thought it was weird, but politely said the doll was beautiful. Then Neo tried doing something inappropriate with the doll's clothes. Honda immediately covered the doll with his handkerchief and said, "Women should always be treated with respect." Those words hit Neo hard. He felt ashamed, apologized to the doll, and promised to create a proper, respectful manga about Honda. A week later, the club gathered to review everyone's work. One member's manga shocked everyone because it portrayed Honda's girl version in a very vulgar and inappropriate way. Neo was furious. He said Honda's pure image had been completely ruined. A fight immediately broke out. Then the youngest member, Taki, presented his manga, an intergalactic romance story. Neo hated that one too. Finally, Neo showed his own manga. It portrayed Honda as a kind and noble character with a meaningful backstory. Everyone agreed it was easily the best. But then disaster struck. The manga accidentally got mixed in with old papers and ended up in the recycling pile. Later, when the club met Isawa in the hallway, they were about to proudly show him the manga, only to realize it was missing. Everyone panicked and chased after the garbage truck. At that moment, Honda realized he had accidentally thrown away their masterpiece. The club members sat down in defeat. But then Honda suddenly ran after the truck and somehow got it to stop. As they searched through the trash, some pages flew into the air. Honda caught one and immediately regretted it, because the page showed a horrifyingly embarrassing and vulgar female version of himself. A few months later, the school festival was approaching. Student Council President Sako had officially renamed it the Honda Festival. The students hated the name. Everyone knew she only did it because she wanted to impress Honda. Isawa told the class they had to work hard and win the top festival award. Ideas started flying everywhere. Rio suggested a maid cafe. Ain wanted a boxing tournament. The girls wanted to perform Romeo and Juliet. Rio instantly supported Romeo and Juliet because apparently he had always dreamed of playing Juliet. This made Kondo seriously question Rio's life choices. Since no one could agree, they left the final decision to Honda as class representative. Now all the pressure was on him. Honda's brain nearly exploded. Kondo tried to help by adding another option. This somehow made things even worse. Panicking, Honda accidentally blurted out that he wanted the event where boys dressed as girls. The girls immediately got excited. Honda instantly realized his mistake and ran for his life. He sat alone by the stairs wondering how his life had become this complicated. That's when Sako showed up. She advised him to act more like a dictator. Just make decisions without worrying about what others thought. Honda barely processed her advice because he was too distracted by her new hairstyle. Sako then asked him to help paint murals for the festival using his artistic talent. Honda agreed immediately, fully prepared to work hard for free. Before leaving, Sako reminded him once again to stay firm in his decisions. Feeling inspired, Honda marched back to class with confidence, only to find the room completely empty. Isawa casually informed him that the class had already made the decision without him. The next day, when Honda tried to help with preparations, Isawa told him to just sit back and relax. Honda took this the wrong way and assumed everyone wanted him out of the way. And then things got worse. His classmates actually left him behind at school. Honda was furious that no one had even bothered to wake him up. As he sat there staring at a cat outside, some random thugs tried to attack him. Luckily, Honda Force appeared just in time and saved him. The next day, when roles for the drama were assigned, Ryo immediately argued that he should play Juliet. Isawa disagreed and said Ain should be Juliet instead, mainly because he had more body weight. Meanwhile, Honda looked at his role and realized he had no lines at all. He was just some kind of background commentator. Confused, Honda asked about it. Isawa simply told him to sit quietly and watch because they had something special planned for him. The girls were so dedicated that they were even ready to cut their own hair to make a wig for Honda's role. The boys, on the other hand, were busy practicing how to act like Honda, but Honda himself felt left out. He was sad that he couldn't properly take part and have fun with everyone. Finally, the day of the festival arrived. Kouji was helping out in the art section. Later, he and Sawada went to check out Honda's class performance. They ordered drinks and sat down to watch the play. The drama began. Ryo played Romeo and Ain played Juliet. The moment they hugged, the audience got worried that Romeo might actually get crushed under Juliet's weight. Then, suddenly, the play turned into a musical. Romeo was spinning and flying around, and even a King Lear character showed up out of nowhere, giving serious advice like he had walked into the wrong story. After hearing those words, Juliet left Romeo and drank poison. When Romeo woke up and saw her, he was heartbroken. The audience kept shouting at him to stay strong, but Romeo ignored them and decided to die with her. And then, the story completely broke. A random character from another story appeared, messed up reality, and somehow brought Juliet back to life. She stopped Romeo just in time. Outside, Honda Force was catching their breath when some students ran up to them. They said Honda was in danger. Thugs from Shiro High were searching for him everywhere, while that idiot was calmly eating somewhere. The thugs were going around asking for Honda. At one point, they thought they found him, but it was just someone who looked like him. Then, suddenly, multiple Honda lookalikes appeared out of nowhere. Their leader, Ryu, grabbed Kei and threatened him to reveal Honda's location. But Kei refused and said he would never betray Honda. At that moment, Dash showed up and accidentally revealed everything, saying Honda was in the 7th grade classroom. Ryu and his group immediately ran there. On the way, they ran into Sugumi. She looked at Ryu's palm and said something terrifying. His life would be filled with darkness. That was enough. The entire group got scared and ran away. Meanwhile, when Miyoko and Kasumi heard that thugs were after Honda, they decided to team up and stop them. At the same time, Kei warned Isawa and the others that the thugs knew Honda's location, and they needed to hurry. Meanwhile, Ichimiya and his group also arrived at the festival, excited to watch Romeo and Juliet. Backstage, Honda was thinking about how to improve his role instead of just sitting around in an old lady costume. Ryu and his group came looking for Honda but couldn't find him. That's because Honda was hiding inside a castle prop. Hearing voices outside, Honda thought the play had started and began rehearsing his lines inside the prop. The thugs decided to wait for him to come out. Then, Ichimiya's group arrived and the tension got so high that Jimoto suddenly lost control and punched someone. Within seconds, a full fight broke out. Meanwhile, Honda sat quietly inside the prop with his ears covered, waiting for his cue. When Isawa and the others rushed in and things got loud, Honda suddenly burst out of the castle and shouted for everyone to stop fighting. Then he realized he had come out too early. Embarrassed, he quietly went back inside the prop. After that, everyone started feeling awkward. Ryu and his group explained that they weren't there to hurt Honda. In fact, they respected him. Ever since Honda scared them near Ain's house, they had lost their confidence. So, they had actually come to surrender to him. Ichimiya's group also apologized for starting a fight for no reason. But just then, everyone noticed something strange. Ryu was lying unconscious on the ground. Turns out Miyoko and her new partner had already taken him down. That night, as the festival came to an end, Sako stepped forward to give out awards. First, the Best Club Award went to Neo's Manga Club. They had sold 5,000 copies of the Honda manga in just one day. Then came the Best Class Performance. Sako announced that Honda's class had won for their Romeo and Juliet play. Since Honda was the class representative, he was called onto the stage. Honda was terrified. He thought people might suddenly start insulting him for no reason, so he stood there shaking. He was just about to accept the crown when Kouji suddenly appeared and said, "Give me the crown, my class was better." Sako ignored him and quickly placed the crown on Honda's head, saying it belonged only to him. Then Kouji insisted again, saying Honda should give him the crown because he was his only true friend. The crowd got angry. They thought Kouji was trying to steal Honda's moment, and people started throwing things. Chaos broke out. Honda thought the crowd was attacking him, but Kouji told him to look carefully. They weren't mocking him. They were cheering for him. For the first time, Honda realized something important. No one had actually hated him all this time. It had all been in his own head. With that realization, Honda took off the crown and said it didn't belong to him alone. It belonged to everyone at the festival. After hearing this, the whole place lit up with energy. Sako was deeply impressed by Honda's humility. Then she revealed his grand prize, a huge parade float made in his honor. Honda felt awkward seeing how much people were admiring him. Isawa and the others told him to climb onto the float. But just as Honda was about to step on it, he noticed something. The float was on fire. If he had actually climbed onto it, things could have gone very wrong. And yet, the crowd kept looking at the burning float like it was some kind of beautiful phoenix rising from the flames. And it's time to wrap up. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.